am sure sports. You know me there, I'm coast to coast representing. I mean, I say this is righteous representing for Omar. You don't know, come get the sports over here from near and far. Boy. Me say I am sure sports, one thing me sure about. When me say sure, that me not doubt. Come get your sports, get it over here. Come subscribe, repost and share. I am sure sports, one thing me sure about. When me say sure, that me not doubt. Come get your sports, get it over here. Come subscribe, repost and share. If me not sure, that me not say it. Know who score, that me not say it. Never know no game play, that me not say it. If me never see no game, me not know who play. For your sports news, better come over here so. For your soccer news, then come over here so. If you don't love sports, still come over here so. For the day done, you are gonna love over here so.
So when it comes on to behavior concerning football, Jamaica is decent. I am sure that if we can get all of these things done, set in place by the end of April, it gives us enough time before the World Cup campaign. Not afraid of no Brazil, no Argentina with these crap of players. We are good enough. Remember, like, subscribe, share. Listen, comment, let me know what your thoughts are.
Tricknick Jerk Marinade gives your meats and vegetables authentic Jamaican jerk flavor. The spices are directly from Jamaica. Spices like jerk seasoning, allspice, Scotch bonnet pepper, fresh scallions, thyme, ginger, and garlic. The key ingredients to a great jerk marinade. 0% sugar and low in sodium. You want to try it?
Made up of 18 Jamaican herbs and spices, add delicious, bold flavor to your next grilling experience. Flavoring sauce, a marinade, basting, condiment, or topping. Tricknick Jerk Barbecue Sauce.
Alright, greetings and welcome to I Am Sure Sports and I Am Sure Sports Caribbean. I am Management. And it is Sunday, and I want to welcome you. Hope you're having a wonderful Sunday evening. If you went to church today, hope you had a blessed service. If you did not, and you stayed home with family, I hope you spent some quality time with your family. We're going to have a really big, interesting, well-informed, educated show today. It's also on our I Am Sure Sports Caribbean platform, as it is on I Am Sure Sports as well. So, you can watch it on either. But we have, I have with me a very esteemed panel that I'm going to be introducing to you shortly. But before I do that, I want to take a little time out to say a big thank you to the sponsors of this video. The sponsors are Prestige Finance, lending a helping hand. When you need it the most, you can call them at 876-884-7390. They are located in Linstead, St. Catherine, Jamaica, and they're offering loans of up to $100,000 Jamaican. That is, there's no processing fee, same-day processing. But that only applies if you tell them you heard about them from I Am Sure Sports. And guess what? You get it same day, only 0 to 4% interest rate. Also to Launch Legacy, where they handle risk and seek legacy for all your personal insurance needs in Canada and the USA. Visit Launch Legacy at launchlegacy.com or call or text them at 647-989-0782. Let me just give you some JPL. This is the first Sunday in the Jamaica Premier League, and some games are completed. So let me give you the results of those games. All right, Mount Pleasant defeated Falkland by 2-1. Falkland took the lead in that game, but Jebison and Stewart scored for Mount Pleasant, and they won that game. The game between Humble Lion and Dumber Holden ended in a 0-0 draw. So did Portmore and Mobia United 1-1. Alan Atti and Jahani Fleming scoring for Portmore United. Also, Vere and Tivoli Gardens ended 1-1, and Waterhouse and Malines are locked at 0-0. All right. I don't want to talk about the EPL because I think we need to listen. If you're a referee and you're in the Caribbean, I think you need to move to England, right? They need some referee over there, because I swear that those officials in England need help. They need to go back to school. Listen, I'm going to start a new college. It's called Learning to Officiate Games Properly. Um, D2 college. Some of these officials need to, but hey, we're not going to talk about the EPL because, I just not happy with how things spanned out today. Welcome to Fresh God, Kirkrow, all the other persons who are on. They are Cobra, all, all the EPL fans and all the fans of I Am Sure Sports. Today we'll have 3 guests with us. We have 2 presently. One you know very well, technical director of football here in Jamaica once. Worked in a couple of Caribbean nations as well. He also coached our senior Reggae Girls team. His name is Mr. Vin Blaine. And we also have Andre Fortune. Andre Fortune from IDF. He's also a Trini. He's out there in Raleigh, North Carolina. And he's the man over there on I Am Sure Sports Caribbean. We'll also be having joining us Kendale Mercury, who is a head coach in the St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the head coach of the national team. So I want to welcome our guests today as we discuss. The topic is the Caribbean ready for the FIFA World Cup in 2026. Gentlemen, welcome.
All right, good on. Glad to be here, Manning.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good to be here.
Yeah, wonderful. So glad that we have you both. Very astute footballing minds. And so looking forward to a worthwhile discussion. And as we go, I also want to give, persons who may be listening, other coaches, you can also call in. The calling number is there, but we won't do that up front. But I don't know if you want to begin by tackling the question itself. But in general, I think both of you have a little knowledge of Caribbean football and its present state. I don't know if we should go Caribbean sport with the exception of track and field. But just Caribbean sport in a whole, given what just happened to even the West Indies cricket team and has been happening, seem like everything is on a downward trajectory, except for probably female sprinting in the Caribbean. What is happening in the Caribbean that affected the last World Cup campaign, the campaign before that? Because except for Jamaica, I think the last campaign, there was no Caribbean team in the last 6. I think the one before this was the last 6. There was no Caribbean team because Jamaica didn't make it. Right? Mm-hmm. This one, only Jamaica was in it from the Caribbean. Right? So what's happening with Caribbean football, and what are some of the things that, we need to see happening to get it back to where we believe it rightfully belongs?
Well, let me jump on, and Andre come in and let you know from his perspective, because both of us are coming from the 2 countries that were the primary countries that in the Caribbean that had been to the World Cup already.
Yeah.
And it comes to me, and I make one statement and turn it over to Andre. For me, it is the organization, the people around the game. Let me call it MAs, or the countries, the people who are at the top. I think that's where it's that. If you realize, and Angel can jump into, because I say I'll turn it over to him. But if you realize what happened in Trinidad and what happened in Jamaica, Trinidad who started it really, and Jamaica may soon follow. Andre, go.
I think what's happening in the Caribbean is no secret. We all have been around the game, and I think it's unfortunate, or we probably could use stronger terms, that we are not being represented at the World Cup more frequently. I happen to believe, I've said this before, that the Trinidad and Tobago and Jamaica should be in the top 6 in the CONCACAF region. All right. Mm-hmm. I think what I'd prefer discuss it, what needs to happen. What needs to happen. I'm not so sure looking back right now is going to help us. So, and I know you would be quite familiar as technical director with some of the things that should happen in the Caribbean. Mm-hmm. So let's look at what's at stake first before we deal with what should happen. Sometime, I think around 2017, FIFA announced that the World Cup is going to be hosted in the CONCACAF region.
and they've given it to Canada, Mexico, and America. And around the same time, they also announced that we're going to go from 32 teams to 48 teams.
48
and
teams, yeah.
and that was in, I think, 2017. And at that time, I think the region should have realized that this presented a very good opportunity for us to participate in the World Cup right here in North America. Because with the addition, with it going from 32 to 48 teams, it means that we now have 6 spots available in CONCACAF, because Canada, Mexico, and America is automatic. So now there's 3 spots available, plus there's 2 additional spots that we were given the best chance. We are given the best chance of qualifying from that. We got 6. In terms of the 2 spots, we have 2/3 of the opportunity for that, right? So we could potentially, best case scenario, have 8 teams at the World Cup from CONCACAF. So, I mean, my question, the question is, are we ready? Are we looking at that as a real opportunity to be part of the World Cup? And I think that's the perspective that which we should look at it, right? If we ask the question, well, what's at stake? Why would we want to invest in that? There's a lot of reasons why. Financial reasons is one that we can look at. There's almost $9.5 million for qualifying for the World Cup. You get $1.5 million to prepare your team if you qualify. You get another $8 million just for participating in the group stage, and these are past numbers, because since 2002, the numbers, the amount of money has increased anywhere between 30 and 70% over the years. So the numbers would be more than that, right? So that's a great incentive financially to want to be part of that. And then what it means to our young people, to our players, to the country to participate. So I think if we start looking at it from that perspective, what's at stake and what do we need to be ready? I think that's, and you would be familiar with some of the things that that we'd be discussing.
Right.
Yeah. So let's start it. What's at stake? Let me tell you from my perspective. I believe if a Caribbean team fails to make the 2026 World Cup, we may not see one in the World Cup in our lifetime. That's what, like, this needs to be a statement for the Caribbean. If Mexico, Canada,
USA and Canada
doesn't play, and we can't get one Caribbean team even to take one of those half spots and make it into a spot in the World Cup, I don't think we will see a Caribbean team in the World Cup for a very, very long time.
And what I've checked, Andre Manning's man, what I checked out is that FIFA has not made a decision yet, as far as I know Andre said 3 already and 3 left, because you have the host nations that normally are included. Not included, sorry. Like, for instance, when you had Japan and South Korea, their 2 spots never counted in their 4 Asian spots.
Right.
And Qatar this year doesn't count in their 4 either. But I don't see CONCACAF giving us 9 spots free, just like that.
FIFA giving us
9.
Yeah.
They haven't made a decision yet. From my last reading, they have not made a decision as to if the 3 spots will be included in the 6.
6, okay.
I don't see it happening. From my perspective, I don't really see them giving us 9, just like that. But so I figure they're going to say, okay, the 3 spots are not included. So it's only 3 spots left over, plus the 0.5 and what they have left over. But to the point that Andre is saying, what should we do on the same question you're asking? We have 4 years. What we have to do from now is get rid of all those people who are 30-year-old, 35-year-old players from now. And because we aren't going to the World Cup, neither us nor Trinidad are on their way to the World Cup to be concerned with playing older players now. My take is that we should now start with a young group, up and coming group, and we give them games right through between now and 2023 before we have a real qualification. 2025,
Right.
sorry.
When
Before
they
we,
call it,
yeah,
well, the qualifications begin at the back end
yeah,
of 20, because the World Cup is in
before.
November. The qualification begins like a year after, which is about the end of 2023 for maybe not
Yeah,
for some the
2023. So,
Jamaican those teams.
right,
But some teams
right.
play in
hmm
those early stages. So you could say
Yes,
2024. Yeah.
yeah. I think that's what from my view is that I think we should start early and not
Yeah.
wait until the appointed time because we want to win Caribbean Cup, we want to win this cup, we want to go to place and make money. You know, because a lot of people who want practice games will ask you for your best team,
Which
right?
is
And
normally older players.
yeah, normally the one players with more experience that
Right.
have been that are known to them, because that is when you have practice games, it's more about justifying the funds that you're going to be asking for and filling up a stadium so they can make back the money, depending on where it's being played. So that those are some of the things that come into play there. But if we are looking at, as Andre said, we have 2026. What do we do to ensure that we are prepared? Preparation is all about, you know, as it says, preparation. You have to know put what in place. In football, it's about giving the players experience at an international level. No matter what it is, we could have players who are playing in the MLS or any other country. But if you don't put them together as a team and give them practice games going along from now till then, we're gonna come right back to square one.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Andre.
I'm trying to locate. I just want to share an excerpt from an article that led me to the fact that we have a minimum of 6 spots. FIFA President Gianna Infantino confirmed that CONCACAF will have 6 direct slots, with 3 of those going directly to the organizing nations. The other 3 will be contested by the other nations in qualifiers. But the 3 giants of the region out of the picture, some teams with little or no World Cup experience, will be able to dream big.
Yeah.
So this was the article that led me to believe that we have a great opportunity to do that. But I think a lot of times when we discuss the football, we discuss from the player's perspective. And Coach Blaine, I think you can speak because of your role in Jamaica. How important it is if an island in the region, a Caribbean island that's a member of CONCACAF, wants to participate in the World Cup, how important it is that we have a strategic plan.
In anything you do in the federation, a strategic plan is very, very important. You know, and that is something we talk about. If you're talking about youth development, you have to have a strategic plan. We're talking about women's development, have a strategic plan. Likewise, you know, as I said, that's why I refer to the fact that we have 4 years, call it 3 years, 3.5 years to do our preparation. If we want to keep it at 3 years, we can. But we have to sit down with technical people or the technical committee along with the appointed coach, and we come up with a plan that how we're going to draft players into the system, because we're definitely going to look overseas. Both Jamaica, well, not Mexico so much, but Jamaica, Trinidad, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, all those countries are going to look overseas. Jamaica started the trend really, and it continues, and everyone sees it as a benefit. It might not benefit our local program as such, development-wise, but as far as World Cup is big business. So I'm seeing that back to the strategic plan, that has to be first, Andre. It has to be the first thing on the table.
And I agree with you, and I happen to think that it's a strategic plan along with a long-term development plan. I think to get there without it is almost impossible. Are you? How many of us in the Caribbean currently have a strategic plan that we are implementing?
Well, the CONCACAF itself, CONCACAF themselves have a program that includes that. It's called when they talk about the conference, right? A coaching conference. They go over every country, and the country has to come up with a strategic plan, but not for the World Cup, but for their plans for the development
Right.
and their coaching education side of things. So they do have that in place. They are aware of it. All the countries in the Caribbean are aware of a strategic plan approach. And that strategic plan includes a long-term development plan. So it's a matter of how well they're going to be implementing, who they put in charge with Andre Manning's and how serious they take it, and not just put it as an exercise and not something that is directed to the World Cup. I don't care who they are. They should, if they've never made it to the World Cup before, all the Caribbean countries, they still should be sort of putting their mindset and aspiring to get to the World Cup.
So are you saying that CONCACAF determines the strategic plan or does each island determines their own plan?
Yes.
Each island determines their own.
Each island determined their own plan. It was basically around the coaching education thing, but also it was a overall conversation with them about having a strategic development plan. When I go to countries, the first thing I try to do is along with the technical people to get up a strategic development plan. Each country has their own culture, have their own approach, have their own administration. So it depends on how much support you get. But the technical director in each country would encourage that and include the people who are important to the process. So but they're aware of having a strategic development plan. Whether they are implementing it, Andre, is another thing. But I know they know of it.
Whether they have one and whether they implement it.
Yeah.
But the question be, could it be? I don't know. Like because you have CONCACAF and then you have the CFU. If the focus is on CFU, can't there be a brainstorming of the heads of like the technical directors or whomever in CFU of the nations who are going to participate? Do you go and compete? But how collectively you can network in terms of ideas and strategies to build out this kind of idea so that we ensure that, like I said, we have someone in there. You're saying that they have, I don't know if you call them congresses where they do this kind of a thing, where CFU, the Trinidad, the Jamaica, the St. Vincent, the St. Lucia, the Turks, all of these nations come together and they sit down and say, listen, as a Caribbean Union, we must share at this level, though we apply different things in game and with our administration, but what are the things we can share and partner with to enable one of us to go through? Because I think like in the United States, like each of those states is a country by itself, but they all come together to form one United States, where the man in Dallas plan is not far away from the man in New York, or in Texas is not far from the man in New York. Let's use a state. Can CFU or do they already have that in place in terms of developing the strategic plan?
All the countries have the same idea. Trust me.
Okay.
They get money for development from FIFA, 2.5 million. They don't get it all at once, but every nation, every country,
$2.5 million for every cycle, like every 4 years.
No, every year.
Every year?
Yeah, 2.5. I don't know if it has gone up, but I know it's 2.5 if I remember correctly. But then it's given in. Okay, say for instance, I'm the president and I hire Andre to come as a technical director. FIFA gives you a certain amount of money for that. If you have a youth program, they give you money for that, but you don't get the 2.5 one time. You have to produce information to FIFA that you are doing something and
you have to basically make a call. Like we call it call. Like you can pull down the funds.
You have to prove to FIFA that you have a youth program in place. You have a technical director in place. You have a female program in place. You have development going on. So every time you do that, you can pull down it. You have to send the FIFA proof that this is it. Whether they send the proof and they use it for that purpose, I don't know. I can't say, but I know that's how it goes. Just to come back to what you're saying about the nations coming together, all the technical directors came out of a meeting last week in Honduras. All technical directors in the Caribbean. I'm sure it was all. And so they FIFA presents that a lot of times. Put them together. Sometimes the technical director and the general secretary goes together. So they know what the plans are. They know whatever information is given, not just given to one country. All the technical directors are brought in together. I think this last one was about leadership. So the FIFA does that in the region, and that involves people from the US and Canada and Mexico and all that. There's one that I went to years ago with a technical director and a general secretary in Mexico. So the information is there, and is what the individual MAs do with the information that is important.
All right, I know that, Andre. Let me just say this. I know you said that because we don't want to go back, but because a lot of what if the leadership is not in tune with what is happening in a modern contemporary context, then it affects the whole progression. Because listen to what earlier the Akubra said this. He says, isn't the issues an administrative one, whereby most administrators only focus on short-term goals, which is actually centered around their term in office and not seek to look at what should happen after them, which is coming back to how the administrations function. But go ahead. I know you were going to say something, but I wanted to just bring it up. Yeah.
So what Coach was just mentioning is something like, Coach, you're saying that there's a template for creating a strategic plan and a long-term development plan that FIFA provides.
That
right?
FIFA and CONCACAF at some point.
Right. And I think that's accurate, but I think each country need to determine what their goals, right, and what their development plan to achieve those goals should look like.
Right.
Each country have a responsibility to do that.
Exactly.
The long-term development plan, it helps you implement your strategic plan. Is that how you understand it?
Yes.
Right. And if you look around the country, and I did a little bit of research on it, 71% of the top 100 MAs have a strategic plan and a long-term development plan. Right. What is how do you go about building a strategic plan? Because I think that's important for a strategic plan to be effective. I think it's important to have a strategic plan that's not just built by one individual.
Right.
Right.
No, it doesn't.
Go ahead.
No, I'm saying it doesn't. That's not the strategic plan is always inclusive. It's not just the technical director that does it, and what they do, they involve the technical committees, they involve the coaches, they involve the administrators, the executives, they involve sometimes just the people outside of the football, just to get a feel of what's happening in the country, in the different parishes, like for Jamaica, for instance. So it's different because and islands like Anguilla is so small that it's with a different approach than what Jamaica and Trinidad and St. Lucia, maybe just Jamaica and Trinidad, maybe like Barbados or involved that would look at. So it is a matter of coming together, look at the strengths, the weaknesses, the threats, and coming, and when they do the analysis there, what I find out is that if you have someone who can oversee that process with everyone, find out what the plan is, what strategy, what is the strengths, the weaknesses, and then you look at it as a program, and from that you can build a strategic plan going forward. Just let me say quickly before answer the question, Manningsman, about what the person asked about. It's not the most countries don't build their plan around the term of the person.
The persons in administration.
Yeah, because if you come up with a long-term development plan and the administration only have 1 year left, next year is the voting rights. It wouldn't make any sense. That's a short-term thing. It's just a matter of, no president thinks that way, because the president thinks they're going to be there forever. The only person that's involved in that decision, maybe the technical director might not be there, the coach might not be there. But also remember, guys, is that the long term, the coach, 90%. I don't know. Let me say, I estimate that about 80% of the countries, the senior team is not really, it's like an exclusive, thing that they do their thing themselves. The long-term development plan and the strategic plan oftentimes deal with the youth teams and the women's program. But when you talk about the senior team in the countries, the senior coach, the technical committee, if there's one in the country, sort of oversees that process. When I was technical director,
so the long-term. Yeah, so the long-term development plan sometimes is I think you're saying that it's two components.
Yes, in some countries, yeah.
It's the development of like grassroots youth stuff, and that is sometimes separate from the function of the national coach with a senior team.
Yeah, yes. When I was in Grenada, I was in charge of all teams, senior team right down. In Jamaica, it's not like that.
Right. The national coach is normally,
Right. Okay. Yes, Virgin Islands, the same thing, So it's a different.
How is it in Trinidad, Andre?
But the way I understand it, based on my observation, and the technical director is responsible for grassroots and elite football all the way up to the under-20s, the youth football. The technical director does not have control over the national team. However, in building a strategic plan, the national team is considered part of it, because the national team probably is going to utilize majority of your budget, but a successful national team provides opportunities to bring money in that would help fund some of the youth national teams. So I think from what I've seen is that from some of the top countries is that the teams that are successful, a lot of the money fund the football, the pyramid of football in the country, based on what I've seen. But when we talk about preparation for I want to go a little bit into the strategic plan. And one of the things that we hear all the time is that the islands in the Caribbean don't have money, don't have resources to implement, to get involved in tournaments and that kind of stuff. Where should the money come from? So you touched briefly just now on the strategic plan and who should be involved in it, right? So you basically mentioned the stakeholders inside of the organization. How important are those outside of the organization? The Ministry of Education, the sports company, if the island have one, the business community, the people that's involved in maintaining the fields, the universities. How important are these individuals in building a strategic plan? Because if you have a strategic plan and nobody that could support the football was involved in it, and nobody knows what it is, how do we get money from them, right? Would it be easier if they were involved in the building of a strategic plan, they know what it is, they know what the goals are, what the objectives are. So they would be constantly invested in making sure that it's funded. Is that what's happening now?
Well, as I said, each country is different. I know in Jamaica, even the national stadium to be trained, we have to pay a lot of money there to use the national stadium. It's not like Trinidad who already have things in place. Right now, Trinidad, the headquarters of Trinidad, Andre, I don't know how long ago you went back, but
I'm not sure either.
Williams was there as the president.
Yeah,
I know he used there's a stadium he used for his headquarters. Right, the office was built right there, so he has a hotel and that right there. Right. So they don't have to pay to use the the facility as such. Now in Jamaica, for instance, the national stadium where we play, we only get that to use prior to a game.
Right.
Once you touch the stadium, it's a lot of money, right, to use. So we have to go someplace else to train. The technical center in Jamaica is AstroTurf, right? So a lot of players don't want to train on that. Right. Some clubs don't want their players to train on artificial turf, right? So it's a little different there. The Jamaica government gives Jamaica some funds, but they give every association, from the netball association, volleyball association to cricket, everybody gets something from the government. So they can't, when Captain Burrow was there, he used to fight hard to get more. So it's not a thing that say, okay, we need $1 million to do this, and they say, okay, no, they're allotted funds by the Jamaican government, and if they approach the government and they can help them a little more and help them out of a situation, they will bend over backwards sometime and do that, right? But
could we change that experience? For example, if you talk to some of the big MAs, the national team, right, is the use of the facilities. They can get the facilities whenever they want, any time of the day or night.
That's been going on for years, especially in
Jamaica. I'm not talking about the Caribbean. I'm talking about outside of the Caribbean. Outside of the Caribbean. Because what I'm trying to get at, the question we're trying to answer is, are we ready, right? So to be ready, we've got to change some things, right? I'm sure you'd agree with that. We got to change some things. So how do we make our training facility for our national team be accessible whenever we want it? Does the dynamic change if the government entity that runs that is involved in building the strategic plan and the long-term development plan, so they know what your goals are and they can see where you're going, so they invested in it? Because the national team, the pride of the country is related to that. I like to say that the national team job is one of the most important jobs in the country, right? That's how important the national team is. So how do we move all these obstacles out of the way? And I think what I'm trying to suggest is that if we involve the stakeholders inside and outside of the organization, people that is involved in areas that can help us. So for example, the Ministry of Tourism, right? They have a role to play, right? Do we go to them when we need something? Does that work better than if they're part of building the strategic plan, so they understand the direction and what the goals are, so that they could plan to support those goals? Could we change those dynamics if we're not doing things? If we're doing things different, could we change how we do things, and would that change the dynamics to help us be better prepared, be part of the 2026 World Cup?
Yeah, that is the foundation. That is the foundation that could be approached, but not to sound negative, but the reality that I've experienced in the Caribbean is that the first thing that FIFA did, Andre, years ago, was to allot funding for technical centers. They can tell you, all FIFA wants to see that you have a plan, and there's a development plan for that project. They can tell you first. What happens is that For instance, in Jamaica, they built the artificial turf field, and they do that because of the economical way of going about maintaining it. They don't have to water, do that type of thing. But if you're going at the higher level, that conversation, Andre, goes above the persons who are developing the development plan. It's always like a president, general secretary talking to these people. It's not like, okay, bring them to a meeting and we have a general discussion around the government. This is my experience. Some things need to change, definitely. It comes down to the administrator, the executive body who decide this is how we're going to approach doing this. Unfortunately, they are the ones that make those decisions. People can suggest things just like how we're speaking now, and we suggest to them this is how we should go about it, but it comes right down to the administrator, the executive body that runs the
let me just bring in, because we have Kendall Mercury. I think he's having some challenges on his end, but he's here. Mr. Mercury, are you hearing us? He is head coach over there with the St. Vincent and the Grenadines national team. You're muted though, so we're not. Okay, so go ahead and let me see if your mic is. Okay.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. Let me say good night to Mr. Fortune and Mr. Blaine and yourself. Management show. Apologies for being late, but as I said to I am True Sports, we had a game today and not too long got inside.
Okay. All right. And then so when you're ready, you just open your mic and then you can speak. And what we can do is that once you're not speaking, we mute our mics so that we don't get the sound, so we allow the other person to have clear airways.
Yeah, but no problem. So I'll listen in a bit and then I'll give my thoughts.
Right. So the persons in the comment section, I see Coach Boris Johnson is here saying great discussion. Blessings, he's saying to all. And Akubra and Tuffy Rudy. We are going to get to your comment, but I want to make sure that I give our guests enough time to ventilate all the things that they have to say. All right. Tuffy Rudy here says, blessing management and guests. Thanks for your service, Mr. Blaine. Agreed with you, but don't you think having two older players with leadership skills and good from farm should be good for the squad? So I think that had to do with an early statement you made that if we're looking about 2024, anybody with 30 and over, we have to basically look past. So he's saying that if you have a 30-year-old who is in good form, wouldn't it be beneficial to have them as part of the process too?
But if you have a 30-year-old, I mean, defenders are always good people to have that, and goalkeepers. You can have a 38-year-old goalkeeper. You can have a 35-year-old goalkeeper. But what I'm talking about are some of the present crop that are 28, 29 who are doing well. I'm not saying it can't happen, and that's not it. But I'm saying that you can't just go with 20 players now or 10 players now for the next 3 years. We have to look at the younger players who are talented to come and integrate into that bunch of guys. Not just I agree with that. You must have experience in the team. Yeah. But if we go with an age group of everybody over 30, because if you maintain all these people, it's not necessarily going to sit well. To me, that's my belief. I know that experience is important. That is for sure. That's for sure.
Yeah. All right, Andre, you can go ahead because I know you're chomping at the bits.
Well, I think sometimes we seem to be in these discussions over the years, we seem to go start at the second level and not deal with the premise of the whole situation, right? So the age of the players, I would say it's important, but it only becomes important if we get the other things right. So
yes.
Jamaica is not going to the World Cup. That's a reality. Should Jamaica be going to Qatar? Based on the access, the players that Jamaica had access to, Jamaica should have been going to Qatar. That's just my opinion, right? They had access to some very, very good players, a lot of players playing in some of the best leagues in the world. and they're not going to the World Cup. So is it playing? Right? Is it playing the problem? The conversation about the age of the players. I think if you have, and I've got to go back to this because I think this is where it starts and ends. If you have a strategic plan with a long-term development plan, in that it will have a plan for the national team, for the senior national team as well, right? And how to get there. And in that, you will hire a coach, a national team coach, who would have the leadership ability, would be able to inspire the federation, the president, inspire the stakeholders in and outside of the federation, inspire the country, right? The business community. It would be a coach with integrity. And if you have those things in a coach, then the age of the players is not really a question. He will do the right thing for the country. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So we're talking about something that may not be an issue if we put
other things are
in place.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You understand what I'm saying, Coach? So I think if we focus on the strategic plan, the long-term development plan, and how do we, if we don't have it in place, whichever island it is in the Caribbean, if it's not in place, how do we get that in place? We set our goals for the next, short, medium, and long-term goals, and we work with the community. We get the right people involved, because I've been looking, and I saw one island in the Caribbean. I think I was able to find something on. We know that more than 60% of the top 100 MAs have a strategic plan. So it's an important thing to have. It doesn't guarantee success, but I think it will help.
So from your research, hold on, let me just get that. From your research, you have only found something on one Caribbean island?
That's one I saw. Because this is what it looks like. When you have look at what's happening right now. India has one. They're hosting the Under-17 World Cup. Right? India is hosting the Under-17 World Cup. They hosted the Boys World Cup. They are a priority country to the governing body of football. Coach said just now, he made a statement. I'm trying to remember the exact quote, but the statement suggests that we are not in that position right now. So we have to take control of our own destiny. Right? We have to figure out how to take the resources available to us, work with it, multiply it, right? So that we could be competitive. As otherwise, if we're not a priority country, that means money is not going to be coming from anywhere, right? So we have to take care of ourselves to make playing in the 2026 World Cup a priority.
Yeah. So Mercury, you have anything you want to add to what, based on what you have heard so far?
Yeah, let me say good night again. Well, from my MA point of view, Simmons and the Grenadiers Football Federation, we do have a strategic plan, and in my personal conversation with Mr. Fortune, we do a little bit into it, where I came in 2019 as the head coach of the senior men national team, and I met basically nothing. So technical director at the time is Mr. Oliver. I had some conversation with him and our president at the time, Mr. Fraser, about crafting something for 2026. Long story short, that wasn't happening, so I asked them for the permission if I can spearhead that. They gave me that permission. So I then invited all of the national coaches, staff from different departments, and the Premier League clubs to a consultation to talk about how could we get to 2026, and that was in 2019 around, I think, November. We had that talks, and basically it was all yes, how we operate in the Caribbean, and there was no action, little to no action. So some of the things I picked up on when I was listening, even on my way home, were things like, I listened a while ago, the age and things like that. There was a criteria that we devised. And one of the criteria that I remember that players must start 60% of the games. Those are the players we were going to profile. So we want the players who are playing regularly to start about 60% of the games. And the age was in a range. So for example, we were looking at players when they peak around 25, 26, 27. So the notion was, can we within our scouting network be privileged enough to find players who is going to be at their peak at this time and look at them? And then we looked at how do we get the U players from the U15 or U17s at the time, or U20s, profile them to get them to integrate them to start their education and their journey to being around the team, around the setup, so they could be around in 2026 and now have some continuity for the next World Cup, whether it be in 2030. And as I say, it didn't materialize. And the new technical director is now a Mr. Garden, who is going in a different direction. So we profile each numbers, what we want in all of the moments of the game, those things. So what Mr. Blaine and Mr. Fortune is saying, yes, you need a long-term development plan. You need the strategic plan. And Mr. Blaine is right. You have to have the proper consultation with the right set of people, the right stakeholders. And remember, this journey is a country. It's not just a handful of people. So you need the right mix. You need the right people to give their input and to feel like they were a part. Because even the fans have to have a part to do with it. And I am very ashamed. I won't bite my tongue to say that we do have a CFU nation, country going to the World Cup. I strongly thought Jamaica would have gotten there, just as my colleagues here on the platform, with the caliber of players they had access to and the level at which they play. But we all know that story. It was all over the place. So 2026 is now the focus. In the presentation that I did, is the same as Mr. Fortune is saying. The increase in numbers of team, increased spots in CONCACAF, the number one team in our region, Mexico, we don't have to play them. Number two, basically USA, we don't have to play them. The Canadian was less worrying, but guess what? They got the spot 3. So now, can we beat Panama? Can we beat Honduras? Can we beat the Jamaicans? Can we beat the Haitians? Can we beat the Trinidadians, the Guatemalans, which are normally the teams? The Simmons don't get past. So my question was, how do we see ourselves in the top 3, worst case scenario, deep a playoff spot? And for 2026, look, if Jamaica do get to the 2026 World Cup, I just don't know what I will say if I'm alive.
But Kendall, you can hear me, Kendall?
Yes, Mr. Blaine, I can hear you.
Let me ask you a question. As the head coach from 2019, right? Can you count on one hand how many good international games you get, practice games?
Yeah, I could. Nation League was a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
That was
not talking Nation League.
Said that because
outside Nation League.
No, different. I know. While I say Nation League was a blessing because that's how we get the most games.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how we got our most games internationally. Yeah. We had basically 2 friendlies. We went to Belize before we went to our first Nation League game versus Guatemala. So we played Belize twice. Guatemala was not Guatemala, sorry. Correction. Nicaragua was Astro. There's no Astro around our region. So when we looked into our preparation, and so we said, okay, there's Astro in Belize, and they're pretty close to Nicaragua, so we could go there, spend some time, play, and then move over. And trust me, if we didn't go to Belize, we would not have gotten a point in Nicaragua. I guarantee you that.
Yeah.
We had the players had no clue about the AstroTurf. But to answer your question, that was one of the recommendations that we play the least for friendlies, because I was taking into consideration the financial constraint. So can we be engaged as a small nation every 3 months, every quarter for a start? And then as we build our profile and we get our rankings up and people see we play, we'll get more requests and get that up to 6 and get that up to 8. But you're right. No, I could just tell you straight off the bat, 2019, 2 friendlies only.
So that's part of the problem right there. And Andre had said about the financial situation. Andre is exactly what it is, the lack of funding around the team. Because I say every single nation, Anguilla have what? Maybe 15,000, 16,000 people. They are not sure how many. But they get the same amount of money that Jamaica get the same amount of Mexico get, the same amount that USA get. USA sometimes, from my understanding, USA don't even take their money because they have money to cover. But all the nations have the same amount of money. My question all the time was, why a country like, for instance, Anguilla, which is a small country, why isn't it that they have enough resources to look after their senior team? I think it's all the management of the funds. It's not. Trust me, when a team travels, the amount of money it costs a team to travel. I'm not putting on the MAs as such, because a lot of money costs them to travel. When a team travels, and like for things like Trinidad and Jamaica have 8 teams. Anguilla might have the same amount of teams, but it's one of those things. The development plan is important. Long term is important. I think that by that way you can look at the you bring in your accountant too, and you see what can happen down the road, where this money coming from. Jamaica and Trinidad in a little better position because they're always approached for games. So they'll make some money off that. But where do the funds go as far as making things happen for the senior team?
So a couple of things. Management mentioned earlier about potentially working together. I think I saw a slide somewhere that Jamaica is going to play Cameroon.
Yes.
Right? Where is that game going to be played?
In Cameroon.
In Cameroon. Okay. I thought that game was in thing, but
no,
essentially.
So let me help you. Let me give you a little context to how it works. So Jamaica has someone apparent that arranges games for them.
Right.
All right. So when he or she arranges the game, or they, if it's a group of them, when they make the arrangements, they will do all the negotiation for. So it's not necessarily the task of the federation. So they have someone who is they do that as a job.
Right.
To find games for Jamaica. So that is why you'll get these way out games. For example, to go to Cameroon and play one game is probably not the wisest thing.
When we could probably
footballing reasons. And let me tell you why. Because you travel from Jamaica all the way to Africa to play one game with a team of players who are not players who most of them you're probably not going to be working with, because it's outside of the FIFA window. So, but if you're arranging the game and you're going to Cameroon, you could see if you could play a 3-team tournament, or find a couple of other teams that you could play in that time that are close, or bring them over into Cameroon or do something. But because you're not in control of that, it's very difficult.
So can we bring Cameroon to the Caribbean and work together so that Trinidad and Jamaica and maybe somebody else get a few games while they're here?
Exactly. Makes sense.
And Coach Blaine would probably understand this better. The structure of a MA, I mean, it's no secret. And one of the departments, events and competition, right? So there should be a department. There should be a department there whose responsibility it is to go out and find international matches, to deal with domestic matches, national cups, and that kind of stuff, right? So you're just saying, management, that somebody from outside of the federation.
The person, they call him, somebody just typed it in, says Winston Clark is the person who sort games for Jamaica, and he's based in the UK. But I love the idea I have, because I think that is fabulous. Because maybe Jamaica and Trinidad could jointly pay whatever hosting fee for that nation, whether the person is going to be hosted in Trinidad or hosted in Jamaica. And so Jamaica plays Trinidad and plays that team. Trinidad plays Jamaica and plays that team. And you give a trophy at the end.
Mannings, hold on. Let me educate you a little bit about that. It's about making money. It's not about having friendlies. That's what you call a friendly. If Jamaica does that in a country, who's gonna pay for the hotel for the teams? Who's gonna provide food for the teams, transport? All them things come to play now. If Jamaica does it by themselves, they make the same amount of money. So why would I want to invite Trinidad? I'm just being a devil's advocate here. I know that there's a thinking behind it. Why would I want to bring these teams to play when I can go there and make 40,000 US and come back? You know, because when these teams approach to play, recently an agent from Qatar asked me to get a team for him to play against in the Caribbean. He doesn't want anybody less than ranked higher than 60. He can go as far as 60. How many teams that in the Caribbean? Jamaica, right? And I said to him, let me give you St. Lucia, because they are qualifying and blah, 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 you know? No. So even if you get a team, yes, Winston is a person that I've been doing for 20, 30 years, since before captain, right? And by in captain's time. But he goes out, the whole thing is making money, because Winston has to make money for himself too. So whatever you're getting from a country, the country is going to say to you, okay, we're going to pay for your hotel, we're going to pay for your airfare, right? And that's it. Then we're going to pay for 40 people. Out of that 40 people, 16 out of that is executive members. Them friend, them girlfriend, them brother, them sister, them, whoever they want to carry. And 24 for players. Right? So them carry more, the starter carry is about the same as the players. Right? Because the president has to, but the president go, the general secretary go in, everybody going at the same time. So they have to get that money for themselves. It's about making money for the association to develop. They're not gonna include Trinidad and things. That's a different process. The most time you'll see that happen is at the lower level. Under 20, under 15, under 17. They'll do that there. In the Eastern Caribbean, they'll do that. I know Turks and Caicos, US Virgin Islands, Anguilla, sometimes they organize those tournaments, but that's for the youth level. The senior team is the money making thing. They're not going to share that. If you go to Jamaica, so for instance, if I'm going to carry a St. Lucia with Jamaica, I'm carrying St. Lucia on my back as Jamaica. When I can go to the place, I make the same amount of money without St. Lucia. You know, so it comes down to money. No matter what you're saying. See, Mercury can't go to a tournament because the FA does not have the money to pay $1 million for airfare, plus per diem, plus hotel, plus transportation to go and get $5,000. It doesn't. They're in the hole already before they leave. So it's a serious thing. I mean, maybe we should ask FIFA to give more money, because the government certainly can't bring everybody.
And here's where this is the moment that okay. So you're talking to someone who who let me try to put this another way. I don't think it seems we are too dependent on FIFA. Mm-hmm. Can we as a people figure out how to generate our own revenue? And I don't think we have to do much figuring out. I think what FIFA shares to the MA, that's great. We're happy to have it. But do we sit and just utilize that? Can we figure out how we can be in control of our own destiny? And I think you would be aware that the information, it's there. FIFA provides the information. What is stopping us from putting in place a plan involving the community, the country, everybody that has an interest? I was fortunate enough to be in Germany when Trinidad qualified for the World Cup. It was a beautiful football experience.
Yeah.
I was there with my family. People at the time, we were the smallest country to qualify for the World Cup. And everywhere you go, people treat you like you're royalty. Right? Why would we not want to be part of that again? Why would we? Because if we depend on the monies that coming in from the governing body of football, we've been saying for a long time that that's not enough. That's not enough to help us do what we're trying to do on a daily basis. That's not enough to develop our football. So
What did I hear say? I think I heard, I can't remember, but there's someone from our football federation. Sorry to cut you, just a quick point.
Yeah.
That the amount of money is available from FIFA for nations in the Caribbean is enough to run their federations and all their programs. That I think somebody said that. I have a video where that is. I just wanted to drop that in.
That's locally. That's locally, Manningsman. That person was talking locally. You're not talking about the World Cup qualifying and team qualifying, because a lot of times you're in charge of you're responsible to pay your way, your airfare and everything to these places that you're going. CONCACAF pays for. For instance, if Andre and myself, you going on an official CONCACAF business, CONCACAF pays for that. FIFA pays for that, right? Yeah. When you're traveling, you're responsible. When you're traveling, you're responsible for those expenses. And when you look at the funding for carry the senior team to London, let's not use London because half of the players are there. But say we are going to Italy. Half the players want to travel business class. A ticket from Jamaica business class today is about 8,000 US, right? 7,000 US if you look at it that way. So you have so many players doing that. You can see what happens. So locally, the 2.5 million could probably run league. But when you're going to play under 17, I'm going to go away to play under 15 in different countries. The airfare between Kingston or Trinidad and to St. Lucia is almost like you're going to Europe. The flights are high, especially now. And you're carrying 30, at the minimum players people you're going to carry is about 30. Or let us say 26 to be a little more, But that's what happens. It's a lot of money. That doesn't come with the money from FIFA. Okay. That doesn't come there. You get 2.5, you draw down for everything that's done locally. Okay. Right? And to answer Andre's point, Andre, but in the local market, is that everyone is going to the same pot. I'm going to the government to ask for funding. Volleyball is going to the government for that. Netball is going there. And if you listen to these presidents of these associations, they're crying. They're all crying, especially about netball. Netball, for instance, in Jamaica, netball is that number 4 in the world consistently. Number 3, number 4 in the world consistently, and can't get any money to do their go build their program. So they're competing for the same money.
I think
one on Coach Andre, because Kendall sent something saying that he wanted to make a point right here, but and then you can come in. But Sir Kendall, you don't have to text to make a point, man. You just open your mic and.
No. We don't do things so. We allow the other speakers to finish and so on. Well, yeah, I wanted to punch on the point that we are central on at the moment from Andre and Vin. In terms of one, Vin is right. It is extremely expensive to take all of your teams outside. The FIFA subvention is never enough. It's not going to be enough. And another point, they're going to increase the monies after the next World Cup. So Andre was saying maybe they should increase, they are going to increase. So you're going to get almost double the money that you're getting now. You're also right in the fact that we have to try and raise our own funds. So let's go back to Mr. Blaine point. Yeah, some of the bigger countries don't take the money. The US don't take the money because they don't need the money. They are very marketable. They have corporate backing left, right, and center. Now, how do we in our region, in our CFU region, make ourselves that marketable so we can get business places coming to us? Because remember, Mark, it's simple, you know. When you have a good product, you don't have to run down people, you know. People run you down.
Mm-hmm.
The fact is our on-field product is not good enough at this point.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? We will get the normal people who will support football, as Vinci, the government, maybe the telecoms, because they do their corporate social responsibilities. But the people now who say, look, I want to partner, and I won't partner unless I know I can get back. So how could you get me more customers? How do you get me more viewership when you playing live games to get people to lock in to watch your games? This is how people put money in. They want back something. Right now, our on-field product is not good enough to attract that. So we have to work on how do we get our on-field product better. And all we know the answer, but with the administrators are some of the main problem, along with the old carb in a barrel mentality from some of the coaches who don't want to work together. We know that. So it comes back to what you're saying, Andre, the long-term development plan, putting in the hard work from youth level all the way to see the product improve and see the product being so good that people will gravitate to it. So even if we have, let me use Jamaica for example, because they have their Premier League. If their Premier League have this high quality, the stadium is gonna full every time. I can stay in front of my TV in Simmons and pay sports match because I want to see it. That's where the corporate would come in, because they will see that. And we have to now educate and make our administrators know about these things. Yes, we are too dependent on FIFA, but without it right now, we can't survive because our income coming from elsewhere is do nothing. So let me use my MA for example. Other than the FIFA money, we own an office in Kingston, which is our capital, where our administrative building is located. There's 3 floors there. The ground floor is rented to boutique, so that's their money. Then the part of the second floor, there's a hairdresser's place. That's the money we get different than FIFA. Then the government was kind enough to give us a lot of boot. That's the only income we get from these 3 business ventures different than FIFA. So we are solely dependent on the FIFA money. When we get games, 2,000, 3,000 people, because the product is not that good enough. Our stadium hold 10,000 people. We need to fill the stadium. Start seeing some really good gate receipts and so on. And the final point with the collaboration where you talk about Andre and Vin is right, is about money. I pitched something different with our MA at the time. Is how could we go on tour and make it cheaper? So instead of go and play in one game, how could we go and play multiple games, 3 games, 4 games? And it is gonna depend on who you play, because the window and can they get the players and so it's a lot of logistics and planning, right? But our proposal at the time was, can we go down to Central America? So let me use Belize. Can we go into Belize and play? Can we drive over the border and go to Guatemala and bounce, because it's just borders, you know. But you have to do your real homework and get the thing right, because when we did our homework, there were certain places where people say, coach, absolutely not. You can't drive, go there because they have bandits, they have this. You understand? You go wrap the bus. So you're doing your homework. But can you go in? Can you go in? Can you go into, for example, Asia? Can you go into Asia, for example, and then use the cheap budget airlines and move around, or even Europe and drive around some places? But these things have to be planned way in advance, because these big teams that we call them, their calendar are planned way in advance. You can't really get in the door so easily. So that's a couple of points I wanted to make.
All right, wonderful. Andre, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think the point that I was going to reference is idea that we, if I'm running a household and my income is less than my obligations for the month, I'm going to have to do something about that. I'm going to have to, and what do I have to do? I either have to cut my obligations or improve my income, right? If I want to maintain the quality of life. And we all know that you can't, to get the best out of players, to have you have to have resources. And I believe that we are capable of generating revenue to help support the football. There's so many different ways. The World Cup is coming up right now, and I don't know, I haven't seen it, tried. Is there any island in the Caribbean? The other thing in Germany, while I was there watching the World Cup, in Frankfurt, if there's a game playing in another city you wanted to see, they have these fan centers, right? And people would go there and watch, and there's food and there's drinks and there's everything there. Could we do that in the Caribbean? Right? Is Jamaica capable of doing that? What games would Jamaicans be interested in? How do you make it an atmosphere and environment that they want to be a part of, that they would pay to be there? That's money that I think people would spend for a good time, knowing that that money is going to go towards the development of youth football, right? We have to figure out how to take charge of our own destiny. And I think for me, I don't want to beat this horse to death, but having a strategic plan, I think, is key, because and doing it the right way. It's not a secret. It's a public document. There were many people involved in putting it together. And coach, you might be familiar with this. The success of the strategic plan requires every person and group to have a clear understanding of their roles and responsibilities in its creation, planning, and implementation, right? So if we have a strategic plan, we have the business community, we have the government entities that provide support to the football, there would be no secret. I think it would be more encouraging. And on top of that, if the product, as Coach Mercury is saying, if the product improves, then it would be easier for us to get funded.
We have to look at the. There's one thing that we can't forget to see, Andre. The culture of football in the Caribbean, and I can speak for Jamaica, and I can speak for a few countries, but in Jamaica, in the Caribbean, we have a football culture, and I've said that years ago. There's no football culture in the Caribbean, because if your team not winning, they're not coming to the game. In America, in the UK, if your team losing, the stadium still full, and then cheering the team. So in Jamaica, in Trinidad, for instance, when they were playing at the tennis by the stadium where Jack Warner owned, right? And a Premier League game, you have 30 people in the stands. And the Premier League game, 2 top Premier League games, So in Jamaica, Premier League games, yes, but that's to the club. When you go to the national stadium now, Jamaica playing, say for instance, Argentina on open doors, and the only with the stadium fully filled and everybody free.
Because if we play in Argentina, no man, if we play in Argentina, the stadium is going to be packed because
they're Messi. But you don't. But it's if you even that you play White when we fall, Andre, they can charge you $5,000 to come in. Okay, so that deter a lot of people.
Right. So America does it different, right? America has full stadiums for the MLS, for example. The corporate America is involved, and my understanding is that they buy a lot of the tickets, okay, and I don't know if it has changed and give it away. We've got to. There's one of the things. One of the concerns with reality is that if we just accept this as reality and don't ask ourselves, how could we change this? How could we make this better? Right? Then we're going to be stuck in the same place. We have to ask ourselves, look, there was a time when I lived in Trinidad for high schoolboy football. There used to be thousands of people at the field, thousands of people. For pro football, there was people. Something happened that changed that. So we've got to figure out how do we change that back. And I think people, it's easier. I run a football club, and it's very, very easy for people to respond when there's, and I'm not accusing anybody or anything, when there's transparency.
Yes.
Right? And I think a strategic plan gives us that if we involve everybody in it, because everybody knows what's going on. Okay, everybody know what's in it. They were part of it. So I think that's where we need to start. Without it, it's very, very complicated. I
want to go there, Andrew, with you, and I want to underpin what you're saying about the transparency, because, for instance, if a company doesn't trust the association, they're not going to support them.
Right.
So you find that may be part of the problem, because one of the things.
Can you stop for a minute, if you don't mind? Sorry. And that is why, if that company is part of the planning,
yes,
right?
But it will never be. It will never be.
It begins to change that dynamic.
Yeah, it will never be. Unfortunately, it will never be.
It will never be.
Yeah,
but that's what FIFA is recommending.
No, but FIFA recommends it. But that I can recommend that you come see me tomorrow and we go play some ball. You don't come. No, okay, I'm just telling you the reality.
You're interested in FIFA for the money.
FIFA doesn't go there. FIFA doesn't care how you get your money. FIFA cares about our programs.
Right, but this is what I'm saying though. If they're funding the MAs around the world and they're providing information that many of the MAs are using, why and it appears as though we're not using it. And if that is true, why aren't we using it?
No, we're using it. But I'm saying to you that the money that comes from FIFA goes directly to programs within the MA. It doesn't have anything to do with what you do outside to invite people in. It doesn't have any. Does Jamaica
have a strategic plan?
I would hope so. When I worked, there was one.
But we think that that's something the public should know. You don't think so? That's not something the public should be aware of.
Absolutely, the public should know because they are
right. So
stakeholder in the whole project.
Are you still the technical director, or you was the technical director?
I was a long time, about 6 years ago.
Right. Okay, so
but I know I know what happens with the FIFA money.
Right, but this is what I'm saying. Each MA should have one. It should not be a secret. It should be known to the world, because that's what gives people the confidence, and you're implementing it. That okay, this is the direction they're going in. I can see progress, so I can support this.
But you see progress to people.
Correct.
Go ahead. Yeah. Sorry, Kendall.
Yeah. We need more transparency. That's for sure. Football has a competition in our region, and when I say our region, in our little CFU, to always be in the media for the wrong reasons. And we have to try and flip that. Because it's easier to sell your programs or product if people trust you. So we have a trust issue within the CFU region with football, and to an extent a little wider in some of the other conferences. So you're right, Andre. How could we build trust with the general public and our stakeholders? And that is something I kept saying also. So I give you an example. One of my suggestions to the St. Stanley Grenadier Football Federation was to publish their annual accounts in the local gazette, in the newspaper. You understand? So people can see, just like the banks do sometimes, or the credit unions. You understand? So people could see what is going on. This is where the strategic plan comes in, because you're gonna have if you take your samples and your ideas and your whatever questionnaires and your survey and your collection from different backgrounds, you'll come up with a whole heap of diverse ideas that you could now lock into. You'll be shocked to know some of the initiative ways people would come up with to help you. I think Mr. Blaine and management, you can help me. I thought I either read or saw something about Jamaican Premier League getting somebody from a business to be the CEO or something.
Yes, they have a new. Yeah, they have.
Right.
They are
So
two students from a company
from a
now.
business,
Like
a second.
He runs a business. Runs a company, and then they just hired also a person who is the general manager for the Jamaica Professional Football League, Owen Hill and Christopher Williams. They are the two persons. Yeah.
Right. So those are brilliant moves. So Andrew, you made a point, not tonight, but I think it's when we spoke about, okay, we are always looking to hire coaches and technical directors from elsewhere, but we don't look to bring in GSs and different personnels to work within the administration. And a friend of mine made that same point to me about probably a year plus ago. So is it that the human resources is not here in our region? And I know the human resources are here. It's just how the constitution is structured, how you end up with a certain people in a certain persons in certain positions. Administration is a big problem. Trust me, in our region. We have to, the affiliates who own the votes and so have to think seriously about how they choose certain individuals to run certain things and so on.
Yeah, I think because I know Coach Blaine has to go. Where you finished, Kendall?
I finished on that point. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. So Mr. Blaine has to go shortly.
I have a few more minutes. I have a few more minutes.
Okay, because I know one of the things that Andre strive on is ensuring that when we walk away from the discussion, there is something tangible that we posit as a solution, posit as a means of, and I know he wants to make sure, right, Andre? We kind of tie down, because it's okay to look at all the problems and the multifaceted, but this whole idea of the strategic developmental plan and what it entails, and I think Kendi said it earlier. We live in a context presently where manifestos are oftentimes mentioned, which is a next name for a strategic plan. But saying you have a manifesto or presenting it without any action is, and this is where not just transparency is needed, but people must be held accountable when that strategic development plan is made transparent and the functions in it are not being carried out. And I think Kendall is touching on that, right, Andre? So we need transparency, but who will hold the powers that be accountable?
So that becomes an election thing, right? But sometimes what I find happens a lot is we look past everything in front of us and we look in other parts of the world that is just thousands and thousands of miles away. Right here in the US, we can see that at the MLS level, we can see that a lot of the clubs have brought in administrators. Darren Hughes, who is now at Newcastle, was the CEO of Atlanta United. He brought his expertise over. He helped put that club in the condition that they're in today, and now he's back at Newcastle. right? Does he have an interest in what
Oh,
happens?
no, it's beginning to make sense. That is why Almiron moved from Atlanta to Newcastle.
Right. So that's the point that I'm going to make. Is there now a link for players in the future? And there are others. There are many others that came over and helped structure, bring their expertise, because England has been doing this for 100 years. Brought their expertise over, helped set up things administratively, help make the league profitable. I mean, everybody is playing a role. They do things a little bit different, but it's working. It's working, and I just, it's difficult for me to accept that we cannot do better than we're doing right now. It's really a complex. It's a difficult one to accept, because I believe as individuals, a lot of us leave home and we go into foreign countries under really difficult situations, and we find our way. We find our way and we figure out, we survive. We do better than surviving. Some people do. So how come we can't figure out what would work for us to help get us? Because this is about developing the game in the Caribbean, but also the 2026 World Cup is on our doorstep. If coach is right about the doubling of the fee, it would be the biggest increase since 2002. And so now we're talking about not 10 million, we're talking about 20 million US dollars, right? Is that worth an investment into the future of the game? What does that do? And that has effects, right? If you're in the top 48, it makes it easier for young players to get work permit in many parts of the world, right? So there's a lot of spin-off from it. Right now, if you're outside of, you're in the 70s and 80s and you just can't get into certain leagues. So there's so much at stake at the moment that I don't know why we wouldn't do it. I'm a little bit confused by that, and I hope that we can move in that direction.
I want to talk to about what Andre said. I mean, what Ranjay was saying there about transparency. I buy into that too. If we could only have the FAs explain, because it's for Andre, when they hear about, everybody hear about the FIFA money, all right, and you're getting $2.5 million. You know what the first thing Jamaica does? And Trinidad, they multiply that. In Trinidad, they multiply by 6. In Jamaica, they multiply by 150. I say, what? That's about the money they're getting. What them doing so much money? Where them doing so much money? But and as Kendall said, if they go out and say to the countries, this is what we spend. This is our annual budget, right? We get 2-point-something million, but outside of that, this is what we have to find, right? There's no transparency, because there's an executive body that wants to be there for life, but they I see that Kenny probably dropped out. But what happens,
No man, he's still here.
Those who vote in this administration, right? The president, the general secretary not voted in. The president select the general secretary. But so who vote in the president? This is important person, because the other people, especially like in Jamaica, are the presidents of the different parish associations. All right, so they automatically make up the executive committee. Now, what it is, the clubs themselves, I hear the clubs arguing. I mean, talk about Jamaica now, Andre. The clubs argue about nothing is being happening at JFF. You know who votes in the parish president? The clubs.
The clubs, yeah.
You know who votes in the president? The parish presidents. So if you're as a club and you want to change, you have to change from down the bottom. You're not going to change the president if you keep voting the same people every time. And if they listen to me, they will like what I'm saying, but it's true. So stop complaining, clubs. Stop complaining about who's in charge when you're the one that's putting them in. You understand me? They are the ones that are putting them in,
So why are they voting them in? Why are they voting them in? Is there something happening that we are not aware of, that we can't see, that is causing somebody to vote for an individual that is not, that they themselves understand is not doing the job that needs to be done.
You know what to be. You know,
something happening personally.
Yeah. You know what I'd ask, Andrew? I'd love to know if it is the same way across the Caribbean, or this is just in Jamaica.
In Jamaica mostly, but it happens in the Caribbean across
So like, how does the process work in Trinidad or in St. Vincent and the Grenadines? How does the president or the executive get elected? Do they have different parish persons or clubs? How does it work?
In Trinidad, they have zones.
Right.
They have zones. You all have parishes. It's the same thing.
The same thing. So around how many persons? How many persons vote in Trinidad? Because in Jamaica it's only 30. It's only 13
that's
persons
something
in
we need
Jamaica.
to do.
Yeah.
That's one of the things we're going to do to look at the structure.
Yeah,
That's one of the things we're going to do because I think the structure need to be explained.
Let's find out from Kendall then. Kendall, how many persons vote to appoint like the president of the association there?
The setup is basically the same around the CFU region. It just differs in certain ways. So like St. Vincent, we have leagues. So we have, I think, between 13 and 15 leagues. So they have a vote. They have one. Then there is the clubs. So we have a Premier first day and second day. So the combination of clubs, I think it's about 10 in the Premier, 12 in the first day, and about 14 in the second day. So that's the combination of votes that you get. Now,
that's 36.
Vin is right.
That's 36 in a row. Well, at least you have more votes. You have at least 51 votes.
Yeah, and then you have the private organization like medical, schoolboy referees.
Oh,
yeah, you have.
Listen, you are smaller than us, and you have more votes than us.
No, we have too much affiliates. I've said that openly. Over people don't like it. But, we don't want to swing it too political. We just want to be realistic with it. The issue, Vin is right. And I'm saying I know have that same problem here in St. Vincent, where the clubs vote in the league president. So I am originally from Beckway, right? A Grenadine Island, right? So Beckway have a Beckway Football Association, right? Beckway Football Association has a vote at the table. Our club, Beckway United, is from Beckway. We are in the first day. We got relegated from the Premier League a couple of years ago. So we are now first day. So we have a vote. Now, Beckway have about 8 clubs. About 6,000 people are about 8 clubs, 7, 8 steadily. They will vote on the Beckway Football Association hierarchy. An election is due sometime soon. And now the hierarchy will choose who they want to vote for in our next general election for St. Vincent, which is, I think, 2024 November. It could happen by 2023 November, based on our constitution, latest 2024 April. Same as that Vin is saying. If you vote your president or your hierarchy, you have to now let them know as an affiliate who you want them to vote for president. But they go in and choose who they want. So let me use my little club, Beckway United, as a model. I am one of the board members. When we are going to vote for president in Beckway, cast our vote in the mainland, our executive don't just meet and make a decision. The players get involved. We have an in-house process where we go and we present the candidates to the players, and the players will ask questions and make their judgment and say, look, we would prefer to support this person. It's not the Beckway United executive just because we feel we are in position go and decide, management is the man. Suppose the players want Mr. Blaine, Andre. The players are the one that are putting out, the volunteers are the one that are putting out. So we have our in-house, and we present and have a vote.
So let me ask you. So when you present the candidates to the players, what information are you presenting to the candidates?
Well, that's a very good question. Those are questions now we will have from players. So when we go to the candidates, you know, when election time, everybody calling you, right? So we'll ask, what's your plans? You know, or what would you do?
That is here. You should be asking them for their strategic development plan,
Right.
right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. We will ask, what's your plan? What do
How-
you intend to do?
how
How you
are
intend
you
to
going
do
to
this?
improve?
How you intend to do
Yeah.
that? Yes.
How are you
And
going
as
to
that,
improve?
so we do-
How are you
we do
going to
our
control,
background
promote,
information
and
on
govern the integrity of the game?
Yeah.
That's that.
we ask.
Let me tell you. I
These are the questions we
believe.
ask.
Yeah.
Okay,
Go ahead,
Mr. Blaine.
hold on, because it's
Go on, Mr. Blaine. I'll hold my point.
That's believe. But I want to jump on the wagon to what you're going where they're going down. And I'm asking you be very careful how you talk about your associate. Like you're still a head coach. Right?
I know that. I'm not.
No,
I'm not,
you know you. I mean, no sense, Vincent. You know that, right?
yeah, of course. The political things serious.
Right. So you have to be very careful. Me can talk anything. Me and Manning Man and Andre can talk anything. But
No,
no, Andre can't, because Andre has two sons that he has two sons that presently play for Trinidad.
Yeah, no, I want to protect.
Andre boy.
I want to protect Murphy, right? I want to protect him.
Protect all of us, please.
Yeah. But listen now, like I want to show you how I'm right I'm right on the same road you're traveling, Andre. You understand me?
Mm.
But I just have to bring out some of the salient points that you can understand the intricacies in what happens at an association. It sounds good. We can talk from now till next year. One of the things, each president gets about 25,000 US a year for just being a president. That just started maybe about 2-3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So no president want to leave that job.
Right.
All right. First. Secondly, I was a technical director in US Virgin Islands, director of football in US Virgin Islands. It's the clubs that vote for the president. They have 9 clubs there. Mm-hmm. When I just got there, Andre, I was in St. Thomas, because it's 2 islands, St. Thomas and St. Croix. Mm-hmm. So I called all the clubs to a meeting, which is 5 in St. Thomas. Mm-hmm. And I spent an hour and a half listening to them tear the president down to everything. Not good. Who didn't vote for the president?
They did.
The same 5 damn clubs.
Yeah.
Right? One man was so vocal, Andre. Mm-hmm. He was tearing on the paper for 1.5 hours. And at the end, I says, "Oh, okay. Now that I hear the problems that you're having, give me your solution then. What can I take back to the president to say, this is what came out of this meeting?" And nobody talk. Nobody after how many times? You know why? The president goes over, give them a $5,000 for them club, and the switch flipped off.
Right.
So we have a difficulty in the Caribbean where we have to understand the runnings of an FA, the politics of an FA, and the people who are on the ground who needs change must take the responsibility to be men and women and change it. I'm not. You have some associations that are running okay. Yeah, one association, won't call the name. I went there to deliver courses, and the man was president for 22 years. Man, he never steal him off himself, and they were still voting him in. Finally, he's gone. But
so let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. You do coaching education. Should our coaching education be a little bit different? Should we add to it the information that we are discussing today?
CONCACAF have been doing a good job recently, because what they have, they have a program called the Coaching Convention. Mm-hmm. What the Coaching Convention trying to achieve is to have a
is that being run by someone from Trinidad? What's his name? The guy from Trinidad does a lot of those courses. Oh my Lord, what's his name?
Anton Cornell.
Cornell, yeah.
He's the president technical director there in Trinidad. Okay. He resigned, but he's back. But I'm saying to you that they want to see if your Jamaica's coaching all islands and all the CONCACAF countries must have the same coaching course. So USA would accept me as a Jamaican who have done a B license over there Which you know will never happen. You live in America, you know America want
Mm-hmm.
their whole license. They say it will happen.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you do it? So CONCACAF right now is trying to educate everyone in the Caribbean, coaching education. But my thing, Andre, is after I do a B or A license, a B license, just like when you're there, you have to do CPDs, right? Continuing professional development work, right?
Yes.
Nothing happens afterwards.
Right.
So I do a D license, or let's say I do a C license from 2010. There's nothing to say, this is what we want you to do to maintain that license. So after a year, 2 years, you should be able to, honestly, that D license, which is no renewal, there should be a renewal system to show that the competency of the coach and he has improved from the last time, or give them some more education on what happens.
So the question I want to ask you is should since I think we've heard 2 examples now, where coaches, clubs, organizations are voting people in, they're not happy with whatever is happening there. I'm not so sure if this information is public information. Should we have something from the administrative side involving our coaching license where we can talk about these things? What do you want in a president? What do you want from an MA? So as somebody in that position, you would understand. So there's an election around the corner, let's say in some island, and I'm running for election. If I can't tell you how I'm going to improve football on the island, how am I going to control the situation, promote the game, govern the game, right? Protect the integrity of the game. What goals do I have set? How I'm going to achieve those goals, right? How I'm going to involve the business community to get funding, right? If I don't have a plan as best as I could, being an outsider, because sometimes you wouldn't have the whole picture. You're not in there as yet. Things could be a little bit different when you enter. If I don't have a plan, at least the people are knowledgeable enough to understand this is not going to work. This person does not know the job and is not prepared or qualified to do the job.
Yeah, that will be the reality of everything, Andre. But like in politics, all right, I come to you and say, Andre, vote for me. This is what I'm about to do, right? And behind the door, some of this, my opposition come to you. You tell me yes, but on the day you vote for the other man. And that's what Berkey alluded to that in a sense. But I never want Mercury to go too far down in that. But
so you're talking about who we are as a people then. You're talking about who we are as a people.
Yeah, definitely. That's what it comes down to. It comes down to the example I use in US Virgin Islands. 1.5 hour, Andre, of tearing down the president. And at the end of 1.5 hours, none of them could tell me what they want to do. Because what? They know they're going to vote for him again. So why is it that? So we have to leave.
You're correct.
Yes.
The football politics is just like national politics.
Exactly.
We know what happens at national political level. It's the same. We have a saying here that or MA is the third political party in the place.
Careful.
No, I know, but I'm just saying how serious football is.
No, that is okay.
It's real serious at the political level.
Yeah. But I know Mr. Blaine, Mr. Blaine has to leave, but I really want to make sure that when I leave here, it don't come across like we're just here criticizing, but that that I want people to walk away knowing that, listen, that solution, it seems feasible.
Man, let me cut you quickly. Andre has given all the solutions, with what he came up with. The reality is, it's out there, but we have to talk. I have to speak truth to what's happening, and he will come up with his information because he's not in the situation like I was, right? Yeah. And I might sound negative, but I'm telling you the truth. That we can now say, okay, if this is the truth, how can we approach it now? How can we approach it where we can say, this is what might happen, this is what happened. I agree with Andre, a strategic development plan that is already in place. I am telling you, CONCACAF is one of the people that make sure that the MA, even FIFA does that. FIFA does that too. There's help from Conquer if they want. There's help from FIFA the MA wants for everything from coaching, women's football, youth football, everything. They get money. If you want to improve your women's game, they have money from FIFA that will give you a uniform and everything for a tournament. All those things are in place. Are the MAs using it? I don't know, right? But I'm saying to you that what Andre is saying about transparency, that is a key. What Mercury is saying about publishing your financials in a what do you call it? They call it newspaper where I used to, right? That's those things are true. But are we gonna have the people in place with the integrity that wants to do those things? That's what it comes down to. It comes down to the culture of the country, how the money transfer goes. Because, for instance, our government has so many associations that they have to support. When Simoes was here, Simoes came in and it was a sort of not a spectacle, but it was something that is new to the country, with a man coming down and speaking about God, praise God, and all that type of thing, and still moving for the football. So people supported him. He was dynamic. He was a man that could walk into a place and get anything. Andre, I managed Simoes when he was second time around. And when I couldn't get a hotel to give me a field to train, and I go back to him and say, listen, they said, no, we can't get it. He said, okay, Vin. Take out the phone, in 5 minutes, you can get the field. You see the difference?
Right, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I wanted a tape from one of those television station. And I called the person in charge, and I said, listen, I need the tape because we want to go through the thing. And I come out to Simoes and say, this is the situation. The man said, no, they don't really give up those things. Simoes said, okay, Vin, make a call, you can get it. So you come back to what you're saying, it must have somebody with integrity, somebody who they respect, and the transparency behind it. And the coach himself find people who you attach himself to.
And that's why it's important who the coach is as well. Leadership ability, the ability to inspire,
yes, exactly,
the ability to lead.
Exactly.
The person must be a learner.
Exactly.
We must have all of these qualities we must take into consideration, because when the national team coach speak, everybody must listen. It's really an important job in the country. If you don't have that. Look, Nelson Mandela once said, there's no passion to be found planning small and settling for a life that is less than the one you are capable of living. Okay. Lovely. And I believe that we are capable of doing much more in the game
we are doing.
Than we are doing right now. And the hope is I don't know if hope is the right word, but the 2026 World Cup is coming, and we should be part of it.
Definitely.
There's a lot of spots available, and the hope is that the people that is in charge would take this, would see the vision and see the opportunity, and do the things that's necessary to give us a chance, whether it's Jamaica. As a matter of fact, I think there's no secret that Jamaica and Trinidad should be a part of that. Right? And Vincent and Grenada and everybody should be trying to be part of that. That is capable. But Trinidad and Jamaica should be a part of that, and wouldn't be a part of that if we just go along. We got to have a plan. We got to have a plan for the development of the national team over the next few years. Right? There's just too much at stake. And I think if we don't get there, the players that are in their 20s that's playing professionally already, they're going to be fine still. But the young ones, the future of the game, right? We're going to affect them.
Mr. Blaine, hold on. Mr. Blaine, it's 8 o'clock,
Yeah, leaving now. Let me just finish. Let me see by saying one thing. Andre, great to meet you. We have to connect.
Same here.
Andre. Mercury, long time no see, but hopefully I'll see you soon. Finally, for me, Andre, to get back to what I talk about players, we can't have a team Jamaica talking about now. Last management, you follow the football at the time. You have a better IQ about football than me, although I'm a coach. You check the last 6 games, Andre, that Jamaica played. Not one time the same team played twice.
Yeah.
Right? So I'll leave you that to talk about how we're going to develop going forward. It was great to be here, right? I hope we made. I think a good conversation. I love the conversation. I think it's something that we should have more often, without any quarrel with anyone. Just put the facts out there and how we feel about Jamaica's football and Trinidad's football. All right. When I coach
St. Vincent and the Grenadines, careful now.
Come on, I'm not my side already, man. Him know me already. I've been there several times. Him know my position with that. But so good. Of course. I wish I could be here for another half hour or so, but I have to go. All right.
Take care.
Take care, guys.
All
right. Bye-bye.
Yeah. So Coach Vin has an next engagement that he had before. But we thank him for coming on, and I'll just allow Kendall and Andre to kind of finish up. Yes. Yeah. But some very good information.
I like to say it was a real blessing and a privilege to be here with such prestigious and experience, personal in the business, you yourself management and in journalism, as I call it, informing the people. And Andre is absolutely right. Because I go back to 2019 when I said, we should be fighting to get to 2026. We should be fighting. We should be making sure that we put the things in place and start to set, the standards and how we're gonna get there. And same thing Andre is saying, the strategic plan, long-term development, middle term, short term. How are we going to get there? Vin is right. We are not really a footballing nation in the region. We love this sport, but we're not like the Europeans, the South Americans, and so on. But Andre is absolutely
correct. Well, I think he said we are not culture.
Yeah, we are not achieving. We have not achieved what we should be achieving. We are so much better. We have to find a way. I absolutely agree with him. It's the same points I drive here at home and abroad to my friends. We can't just sing the same song that it has been like this. How are we prepared to make this better? How are we prepared to make this change? You understand? To be fighting in the top of CONCACAF regularly and getting to World Cup consistently. So look at the facts. Trinidad went there once. Then how much easy can get back? Jamaica once. How much easy can get back? Haitian once can get back. So we have a serious problem.
Yeah, Andre, what say you?
Yeah, I think this is about ambition. Ambition drives a lot of things. I'm someone that run a very small club, about 100 kids at the peak of it, and in the midst of clubs that has thousands of kids. And I like to tell people that we are a small club with big ambitions.
Yeah.
And we've been able to go into some very elite and privileged spaces and be competitive, because my mindset is I can achieve whatever it is I set my mind to. All right, there's you have the ambition, you start dreaming, and you start doing the work to get there. And with the help of others, have been able to accomplish a lot of things that, quite frankly, we shouldn't be accomplishing. Have been able to put kids in, have kids get experiences playing at the national level, playing professionally, because it's just ambition and hard work. So I'm hoping that the people that is in charge of the football in the region, in Jamaica, in Trinidad, in St. Vincent, we just saw at Dominica what they did recently in the Under-20 World Cup. Hope that they have the same ambition to see the teams, to see these countries be part of the 2026 World Cup. I think it would be a massive failure if nobody from the Caribbean is there, especially the bigger players. So let's see how we can hopefully management. I see, through your conversations, you have engaged the federation and you've gotten them to look at things and probably do some things different and make some adjustments. Let's hope that it can happen around the Caribbean.
Yeah.
And we put ourselves in a position according to Nelson Mandela, that we can live the life that we are capable of.
And that is it, because our conversations, I just want all the persons listening that we are not here to tear down our national federations. We are here to share our thoughts because we have a better vision. I always tell people there's a difference between sight and vision. Everyone has sight, but not everyone with sight has vision, because a blind man has no sight, but he has vision. And that's what we want to do. We want to paint a better picture of what the football could look like if we get all the things working. Is it possible? Yes, it is. We can be better than this. I totally agree. And so as we have these conversations, that is the idea. Not just for Jamaica, because listen, we as a Caribbean people, we're better together, right? We compete on the field, but I believe there's a partnership and a networking that must take place, that all of us can grow together. All of us may not qualify for the Men's World Cup, but imagine if one Caribbean team qualify for the Senior World Cup and one qualifies for the under-20, one for the under-17. Then we have one for the female, one for the... That is what we want to see. And I believe we have the wealth, we have the resources, we have the intellectual capital to make this happen. And the biggest hindrance, and I say this because I have spoken to many people in influential places in Europe, and what Europe has done is UEFA has brought all their weak nations up. So nations like Moldova and all of those small nations who used to get 10 and 12, you saw what Iceland did. All of those nations are stepping up. And they can even beat some of these Caribbean nations, because Europe has not only sought to empower the big nations, but to empower the smaller nations. I think that is also something that the Caribbean must look at, because if all of us are better, then all of us together, then all of us will be better individually. And I believe that there's a place where that can still happen in this time.
And I would just add, you said it's possible. I think it's probable, if we put our mind state. Yeah. I think if we put our mind state, it will happen. And you also said we should have one team, at least one team, senior team in the World Cup. If it's one, it's going to be Trinidad. So you got to make it remember they want one or two.
Management, boy, you're in trouble for 2026.
Is that what you said now? You said one.
No, I like to under-promise and over-deliver, you know. Somebody told me that Arsenal was going to win, you know, and I said something to the effect that, listen, this is Southampton, and I don't know, Mary, something with Mary and guns. Mary somehow find a way of stuffing up gun, because down at St. Mary's, the Arsenal guns have always failed to fire. Yeah. I don't know why.
Yeah, it was bad. I predicted 3-0, and in the 64th minute, before the score, I realized that it's not going to be 3-0. It could probably be a tie, or we could lose. So,
yeah. But listen, people, we're gonna have this conversation. We're gonna keep having these conversations, right? This is the second one, but there are more to come, and we will have other persons. We're hoping that we can hear from the persons from St. Lucia, or the persons from Dominica, or from Barbados, right? We want to hear from the persons who are actually on the ground. So you'll see a lot from me and Kendale, and you'll see a lot more from Andre as well, because we want to keep having these conversations. But I want to thank all of you for being a part of the discussion. Really, really so good having you on, and it was so good sitting down and discussing football and the Caribbean at this level. I want to remind you again, right, that really it would be so good if this were on the I am sure Sports Caribbean platform, so that we could just send it out to all the islands, right? But you have to help that by liking and subscribing to that platform, and you do that to this one as well. Get the word out. They're not just talking about Jamaica's football, but Caribbean football. And Andre, we will discuss when we're going to do the next
Yeah.
the next
Yeah,
show.
we talk about that this week.
Yes, yes,
Tomorrow we catch up tomorrow.
yes. But thanks to every single one of you. Listen, be safe. And I wanted to end with that quote from Nelson Mandela again. Just not just at a football level, but just on a life level. I want you to end with that quote from Nelson Mandela.
He said, there's no passion to be had, no passion to be found. Planning small and settling for a life that is less than the one you are capable of living.
Yeah, yeah. No passion. There you go. So thanks
Right.
again, Sir Kendiel. How did the games go?
It was some practice games. We actually were to have our first league game today versus
Oh,
team from the mainland, but they got permission from our MA to get the game postponed because they had debt, somebody close to the team. So we understood that. So we replaced it with a local friendly. We drew 3 hours with local team, community team from Patrick Farm, which is some good athletes. We are now in our first month of our female program, so we had a female game versus our U13s. This is the third game we had for females. We're trying to play them every week because, as I say, we now starting the female program. I am going to return home at the end of the year, so I'm trying to kickstart things. Just like Andre Club, big ambitions. Our ambition is to get back to the CONCACAF,
Premier.
get back to the Premier League first of all, and then get to the CONCACAF Club Shield. And our club has always had this ambition that to get to the CONCACAF Nation League. So we are now engaging back on that platform now that I'm stepping away from a national job, so I can put back my emphasis into the promise and heart of the club from a coaching perspective.
All right. Awesome. Awesome. All right. Yeah. So no passion to be found. Planning small. Settling for a life that is less than the one you're capable of living. Nelson Mandela. People, it was such a good show. I hope, like me, you have learned something. All right. Apply it. Find the principles and apply them to your lives. Again, I want to thank Mr. Vin Blaine, Mr. Andre Fortune, Kendale Mercury. Again, we will have these conversations. I saw Coach Boris Johnson. Coach Boris, the next one, because you're also in the States, you have been in Jamaica, you're in the States down there, we will have you on. So you can share us your thoughts, because when I listen to Kendale, he always reminds me of you, because you guys think the same way in terms of this whole strategic development. You don't know this is a former national player, but every time he comes on, he always asks. Like from last year, he was asking, have we started preparing for the under 17? Have we started preparing? Have we started preparing? What are there? He always said this. Manning's man, are they ready for the same thing he asked about the 2026? From before this campaign started, he was asking if they're preparing for the for the 2026 campaign. So I think we will have him on, but we'll talk more about it. But again, people, thank you so much. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. A lot of you, the video was WhatsApp to you. Just send it in your contact and tell the people, listen, this is a good one. Go and listen. Go and watch. I'm Manning's man. That's Andre. That's Kendale. We soon find some alias for them. We soon say NC or Arsenal NC. You know what I mean? And Kendale and a Glendale. You understand? Don't worry yourself.
Yeah, Mr. DJ. Yeah, DJ.
but everybody be safe. Spend the rest of the Sunday evening with your family. I'm Manning's man, and when it gets to this point, we say we are over and we are OUT. out of here.
Watch about dog, SK New Erdis, the body out there, Sniper King I represent for I Am Sure Sports. You get to me, I say, when you want the latest news and sports and updates and all of that, check out I Am Sure Sports. You know the thing goes in. Remember, cover the whole island. Remember Kingston, Westmoreland, Galchester, Ocho-Race, Galtigo Bay, everywhere. I Am Sure Sports, check it out for the latest news and latest updates. Sniper King I represent. Where them feel like, yeah, someone on for the food from young, from where they knee height. I Am Sure Sports. Yeah, dog.